Hi friends, today we talk about Lakshadweep. In the Bay of Bengal you have Andaman Nicobar Islands. In the Arabian Sea you have Lakshadweep. These two islands are so beautiful. The tourists come back from these islands always carry happy memories. This kind of islands, you won't find it anywhere in the country. The other places in India have their own attractions. Go to Jammu and Kashmir, go to Himachal Pradesh, go to Kerala. They have different kind of atmosphere. Now today we talk about why are we discussing about Lakshadweep. Normally you never come across Lakshadweep Islands. This is the smallest union territory among the 8 union territories we have in the country. Lakshadweep never comes in the news either for good reasons or bad reasons. But recently in the last 2-3 days, the inhabitants, or we call the people of Lakshadweep, are very much agitated. And that's why Lakshadweep is in news. Before we talk about why there is simmering anger, why the people are so angry in Lakshadweep, we discuss a brief topography of Lakshadweep. Lakshadweep, I just told you, these islands, we call it archipelago, or in the Arabian Sea, very close to Kerala. There are 36 islands here, covering something like 32 square meter area. It means Lakshadweep is not even 1/4 of the capital city Delhi. That small are these islands, though they are so beautiful. There are 36 islands, but out of 36 islands, only 10 islands are inhabited. And I told you it's very close to Kerala. Lakshadweep has close relationship with Kerala. Most of the inhabitants in Lakshadweep are from Kerala. They have settled there long time back before we got independence. So the language spoken there is also Malayalam. And the population according to 2011 census of Lakshadweep is 65,000. Maybe it has now gone up to 67 or less than 70,000. So very less, not even 1 lakh. I told you already it is the smallest union territory. And there is just one Lok Sabha MP from Lakshadweep. Right now he is from NCP, Mr. Muhammad Faisal. Why Lakshadweep is in news these days, why people are angry, now we'll discuss right now. See, these islands, Lakshadweep, is administered because it's a union territory. The central government appoints IAS officers or IPS officers. Most of them either very senior IAS officers or retired IAS officers. And the main responsibility of the administrator is to look after the welfare of the people there, not to interfere in their personal lives, in the ecology. That is the main responsibility. So since independence, Lakshadweeps are administered by IAS and IPS officers, and they had no problem, the inhabitants and the people living there. In fact, some of the IAS officers have developed the area. They provided lot of relief to these poor inhabitants. But now, why it is in news, December 2020, one Mr. Dinesh Sharma, he was an IAS officer, he died. He was the administrator. After his death, this is the first time the BJP government from the center had appointed a close AD of Modi. He's a very good friend of Modi, Mr. Praful Patel. Who is Praful Patel? When Prime Minister Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, when Amit Shah was arrested, temporarily he was given the charge of the Home Ministry in Gujarat. He is Praful Patel, and he was in the news for a long time for different wrong reasons. When Praful Patel was appointed as administrator of Lakshadweep, he had a different agenda. Maybe according to the people there, they had a saffron agenda. He wanted to promote his own BJP agenda. Why? Because in Lakshadweep, more than 77, almost 100% of the population or the inhabitants are Muslims. So what all the changes he wanted to bring, and why people are angry with him in Lakshadweep, and why many parties are behind the inhabitants of Lakshadweep, not behind the administrator. Let's see one by one what all the things he wanted to. So the first thing was he wanted to convert Lakshadweep somewhat like Maldives Islands. He wanted to develop them. He wanted to attract tourists from all parts of the world and Indians. So he wanted to bring railway lines to Lakshadweep. Just imagine such small islands. How could you have railway lines? It will disturb the ecological balance. And he wanted to construct national highways. He wanted to develop it, and he wanted to hand over the entire land in Lakshadweep to capitalists. Maybe according to the people there in Lakshadweep Island, they wanted to bring big resorts, big 5-star hotels there. Maybe like big capitalists like Ambani and Adani. They will take over. The same thing we have, the farmers' agitation is going on. They take over the somewhat same lines. The people are agitating there because they might lose their ecology, they might lose their lands to big capitalists, and they make the profits, inviting tourists from all parts of the world. Now let's see what is his agenda, what are the things, what changes he wanted to bring to the island. Whether it was helpful for the people, whether it was real for the development of the islands, or to help some capitalist friends, or to have BJP agenda, saffronization, or to suppress the majority population in Lakshadweep, that's the Muslims. And this is the friends, remember, this is the only place where Muslims have been declared as scheduled tribes. So once if they suppress scheduled tribe, that means he's going against our constitution. So let's see one by one what are the changes he wanted to bring to Lakshadweep. Number one, cow slaughter and beef. This is the first controversial point. He wanted to bring ban on cow slaughter and sale of beef. Tell me friends, right, in Lakshadweep more than 75, 77 or 100% of the population is Muslim. They are beef eaters, and that too they are from Kerala. In Kerala, beef is not banned. Beef slaughter is not banned in Goa. Beef slaughter is not banned in Meghalaya, Nagaland, in some of the northeastern states where you have BJP rules. But no one understood why they wanted to bring beef. This is the cow slaughter. They wanted to bring a ban on beef in Lakshadweep. So there is some hidden agenda here. The second point, it's a very funny, two-child policy. We remember a long time back, Mao introduced one-child policy in China. They're somewhat on the same lines. This Praful Praful Patel wanted to bring two-child policy. What exactly is two-child policy? If anyone has more than two children, he's not eligible to participate in panchayat or local body elections there. Nowhere in the constitution is it is written, but he wanted to bring it. Maybe the logic behind it that the people who are opposing him, they will not be in a position to come to power in their local bodies. After all, at the end of the day, these islands are basically meant for the people who have been living there since time immemorial. So he wants to ban people who have two children, or if a present local body elected representative has two children, he or she is not supposed to produce one more child. It's very funny, ridiculous. The third, serving liquor to tourists. Right now in Lakshadweep, there is no alcohol. They don't serve alcohol like Gujarat. In Gujarat, alcohol is banned. Sale of liquor is banned. But the same person who has come from Gujarat, he was the Home Minister, he wants to introduce alcohol here in Lakshadweep. Why couldn't he do that in Gujarat? So people are, this is banned in Lakshadweep right now. He want to introduce alcohol in Lakshadweep. Why? Because he wanted to convert these islands as Maldives. He wanted to attract tourists from all parts of the world. He wanted to serve them liquor. Tell me friends, if such beautiful islands which are not touched or polluted, he wants to bring alcohol, what will happen to the islands? The next point is land acquisition powers. They introduced LDAR. What is that? Lakshadweep Development Authority Regulation 2021. What it is, this is a very dangerous thing. Through this draft, through this regulation, they can grab, snatch anyone's land in the name of development, to construct big 5-star hotels, to hand over this land to big capitalists. That's why people are very angry. The people who have been living in these islands for centuries, they will lose their shelter. It will disturb the whole ecology there. That's another point. Next one, anti-gooda regulation. Anti-gooda regulation. This is another thing the people or the inhabitants of Lakshadweep could never understood. They could not understand why anti-gooda act. So through this act, if the administration wants, they can arrest anyone without giving any reasoning, without any court case. So it clearly indicates there is a hidden agenda. They wanted to arrest those people who oppose the policies of Patel. This anti-gooda act should be implemented only in those states where there is terrorism, where there is a lot of anti-social activities are taking place. Not in beautiful, serene, peaceful islands like Andaman and Nicobar or Lakshadweep Islands. The next one you have, this is a very funny thing. Before Praful Patel was made as administration in December 2020, there was not even a single COVID case in Lakshadweep. It was declared as a green zone. That's the only place, only Union Territory, only place in India where there was not even zero COVID cases. They were absolutely happy for a whole 1 year. They heard about it, but no one experienced COVID or Corona. After Praful Patel became the administrator, he changed the SOPs. What he did, earlier they used to have 14 days quarantine If a person is coming from Cochin in Kerala, he's supposed to have 14 days quarantine in Cochin before he lands in Lakshadweep, and again 7 days quarantine. But what did this new administrator did? He said anyone having RT-PCR test before visiting Lakshadweep Islands 48 hours, he can have the RT-PCR test and land in Lakshadweep. No quarantine, nothing. As a result of this, what happened in Lakshadweep now? More than 7,300 cases are there, and more than 28 people have died. The most unfortunate part of is Lakshadweep Islands do not have a specialized multi-speciality hospitals. They don't have it. For everything they have to rush to Kerala. And next one is he wanted to bring the big dairy farms such as Amul in Gujarat to Lakshadweep, so that he can suppress the people who are producing milk. And this also he wants to hand over these dairies to some capitalists in Gujarat. And the last point we have, in Lakshadweep, most of the people are on contract labor, maybe coming from outside, maybe the locals in the government offices and wherever some development work is taking place. So what he did was, he terminated all these contract laborers working for the Lakshadweep or working for the administration. As a result, they all became unemployed there. And one more thing, what he did was Anganwadi workers or the children in schools. Earlier, before he came in Lakshadweep, this new administrator Praful Patel, the children were given non-veg midday meal. So maybe in terms of fish, maybe in terms of beef. But he banned it, midday meal. He said only vegetarian food should be served to the children, or nothing absolutely. Now tell me friends, right, this really angered the people there. Because of this, they went on agitating. They're really agitating for the last few days. The Chief Minister of Kerala supported the people, and there are so many MPs from Communist Party, the Congress, including Rahul Gandhi, extended his support for the people. Not only this, there are many other parties in the country, many other MPs. They have written letters to the Prime Minister, to the President of India, to the Home Minister, to recall the present undemocratic administrator, the present dictator. Otherwise, what will happen? The peaceful islands of Lakshadweep will lose its beauty. Ecology will be once again playing with our nature. Think it over. My take here, we should leave these islands to the people who have been living here for centuries. They better know how to take care of themselves, instead of giving these islands to some capitalist who will exploit